Hello, 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 and welcome. I am Shane Moore, and this is the Texarsis Live. I will be here with you for the next hour, hour and a half, or longer, who knows. Tonight we'll be talking more about the child trafficking shocking revelations, and they are quite shocking when you look at the picture, at the entire picture. There's a pattern, and it leads to the high, from the lowest to the highest levels of society. No one is immune, no group, no. It's all about money. It's all about power. I would say mainly power. And there are people in this world that are so powerful that they have all the money that they could ever want. But what does a man or woman with power want? More power. They have an insatiable need for power. And the child trafficking is just one of the many tentacles of what has been called the octopus. It's there's just so many tentacles, arms that reach into every sector, every area of society, and this world as we know it. So just kick back, relax, and this is going to be this is not a pleasant subject, so but it's one that needs to be addressed, and hopefully together we can all do something, take action, and stop this. I mean, this is crazy. I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, we will get started. So I'll be back in, let's see. I will be back in 3 minutes.
I don't know for how long I'll get to hold your hand, to be your guiding light in the darkest of nights. I will try to do my best until the day that I'll die. I won't lie. It's not going to be easy, but I'll try. Don't you worry, I'm not going anywhere. I will stay here, and as long as my heart beats like a drum, then I won't back down. No, I won't back down. I know that we will fight and be too proud to say the other one was right. And one day you will leave and start your own family. I will try to do my best until the day that I die. I won't lie. It's not going to be easy, but I'll try. Don't you worry, I'm not going anywhere. I will stay here, and as long as my heart beats like a drum, then I won't back down. No, I won't back down. will stay here, I will stay here. And as long as my heart beats like a drum, then I won't back down. Don't you worry, I'm not going anywhere. I will stay here, I will stay here. And as long as my heart beats like a drum, then I won't back down. No, I won't back down.
And I'm back. Okay, we'll get started with I'm sure that you've all heard of Pizzagate, Pedogate, Elsagate. If you haven't, then you can Google that and look that up about Comet Ping Pong and the Clintons and how they're supposedly involved in pedophilia and different bad things. Hello, Nazreen. Glad you joined us. Glad you joined me, rather. But what you have to keep in mind is that now, if you say Pizzagate or you say Pedogate or you talk about groups that are pedophiles that take children, kidnap children, or whatever. You most likely, many people are going to just shut you down. They're going to ignore you. You're going to be looked at as crazy, insane. Don't listen to that person. That is exactly the way that it's meant to be. That's the way that it has been structured. Is what has taken place is that all of the Pizzagate, and when I say Pizzagate, pizza is a code word for children, just as they seemingly have different code words like hot dogs, ice cream, different words that you would use, but use in a normal way, but they use it as a code. It seems like there were John Podesta, the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. There were some leaked emails where they were talking about getting a pizza for an hour, and then it goes even further. Just different things. When you look at it, when you read it from a certain perspective, you can kind of see where it possibly could be, that they're talking about something else, namely children, because in one of the emails they talked about the different ages of the children and how that to get the hot tub ready, it's just wasn't appropriate, to say the least. I mean, it was just very strange. And when you take the fact that John Podesta, his brother Tony Podesta, has artwork. Tony has artwork in his house. Tony Podesta has artwork in his house. That is very troubling, to say the least. I mean, it's of children that are tied up or that are bound, and he did have a bronze life-size statue of a man that was kneeling, bent backwards, where his head was touching his feet, and it was the exact pose that Jeffrey Dahmer put one of his victims in. And this is in Tony Podesta's house. I think it was in his living room. I've seen it, I've seen pictures of it. And it's just like, you think about it and it's like, okay, these people are in positions of power. I mean, this is what is referred to as the elite, and why would you have something like that? I mean, that would not be something that I would get up and make my coffee and just sit and say, wow, I just cannot believe how beautiful that is. I mean, what kind of sick mind would have something like that? And then the paintings of the children are very troubling too. But what has taken place is that all of what has been said and what has been shared in the media and news and written about online about Pizzagate is not all true. It is, there is truth there, but it's been flooded with a bunch of lies. It's been flooded with a bunch of make-believe. They've just gone overboard on a lot of things, and that was intentional to make it so incredible that people would say that's crazy. I mean, there's no way that that's going on, and they're right to some extent. But what happens is the disinformation, which is flooded. I mean, it's all over the internet, has acts to hide the information. It acts to hide the truth, and the truth is hidden in a flood of disinformation. And so people say, well, it's really hard to tell what's real and what's not, and that's the truth. And so they just turn away from it altogether. It takes time, it takes persistence, and a lot of hit and miss to weed out the truth, weed out the real from the unreal, and get to the bottom of it, if there is a bottom. It seems like a black hole where it just continually goes. But I will say, I'll go back to the old quote, where there's smoke, there's fire. And for example, today I went on Amazon and did a search for silk, pillows. There was a listener, a good friend of mine, that sent me a screenshot of these silk pillows, and I'll read this to you. So you'll kind of get a picture of what I'm talking about. It says, downright eider down, 434 thread count, 29 ounce Eliasa silk down pillow, 20 inches by 36 inches. And the price of this pillow is $10,233. That's $10,233. Okay? Now, the same pillow, it's just 5 ounces lighter. The downright eider down 434 thread count 24 ounce Eliasa silk down pillow, 20 inches by 36 inches. The price, $8,508. This is on Amazon. there is no pillow that there is no silk. There's no pillow that is going to be $10,233. And my question is there basically the same pillow, the same item, and you have a tremendous price difference there? And then if that's not enough, it says extended delivery time. This item takes longer than usual to ship due to its size and or weight. So I'm thinking, you have to ask yourself, since when does a pillow take longer to ship due to its size and weight? I mean, what's the problem? We just recently bought a chicken coop. I mean, I'm talking, we bought it in a store, but we looked online, and we could have had free delivery for the, 200-pound chicken coop. It would take no extended delivery time, but a pillow will. It makes no sense. So that's what I'm talking about. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's a lot of smoke. And they can give excuses to why that they have these pillows listed for at such enormous prices, but none of it makes sense. None of it at all. And what I believe is that what is taking place is that there's if it is child trafficking, and if they are putting this out with code words, or like the name of the pillows, the Eliasa, maybe that's a code name or something that pedophiles or child traffickers are looking for. Maybe they're notified ahead of time, and this ad, it said there's limited stock. There's 7 left. So if you think of that, if they're talking about children, it's very troubling. But there are lower priced items for say like $800, $800 to $900 for different things, and I'm asking myself, could that be possibly for organs, for a kidney, or for something like that? Like, they are dealing organs not on the black market, but on the right under our faces, but the way they're doing it, there's no way to prove it, at least not now, yet. But how this would work is, of course, they're not going to ship a child in a container, or they're not going to mail a child to someone. They're not going to FedEx a child to someone. But what would happen is the buyer would make it known that they wanted to buy. And would a pillow be sent? Of course not. There would be a time and place to buy what they see as merchandise, which would be the child. If this is child trafficking, again, I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying if it is, there would be a set place, a set time where they would make the sale. They would, and it wouldn't be in the parking lot of Amazon. It would be, it could be anywhere in the world. And probably would not be, something that they would pay Amazon for. It would be something they would pay the supplier for. what I believe is, if this is the case, that Amazon, Wayfair, and different websites that are that have these unusual prices for these items, they're just the middleman. They're just the middleman. But being the middleman, they're making money too, and that's what this is all about. It's about making money. And child trafficking, human trafficking, and child trafficking in the United States is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it happens every day. And I didn't know that till I started researching it and looking into it, and it's terrific. I mean, it really is. And it's worse in the South because closer to Mexico. And so, when, people come over from Mexico illegally, children, they are picked up, they're placed in detainment centers, and it has been proven, this is a fact, that that there have been children that have been placed with traffickers, that have been released to traffickers. And so I'm kind of putting this together, and I'm thinking, wow, this is crazy, because it's the perfect setup. Most of us think about the lone pedophile kidnapping children, or the trafficker kidnapping children, and taking them to a place and putting them in a room, chaining them into a room, keeping them there. This is much more complex. I mean, this is much more, I don't know, I guess you would say evolved, because if it's, well, you might call it state-funded kidnapping. I mean, really, because there are cases, more than there should be, of Child Protective Services and the foster care system actively taking part in child trafficking, child sex trafficking, placing children into foster homes with known pedophiles, with horrific results. So you're not going to tell me that somebody is not being paid, somebody's not making a lot of money from this, and it's not like they have to go out and kidnap children when, hey, the children are already there. They're being provided by these, like I said, Child Protective Services, CPS, if you will, and the foster care system, the very systems, the very groups that are supposed to be protecting children. And that just makes me sick. I mean, it's just very, very sickening. But for example, there's a case that happened in Arizona, and Arizona is probably the worst as far as child trafficking, pedophilia, and well, I'll just read it. It says, Arizona foster care system revealed as part of pedophile ring. It says that a young girl, 2 years old, was placed into a foster home run by pedophiles and child pornographers. She was removed and placed in another dangerous situation where she was burned, she was actually scalded, in with hot bath water by the foster mother, burned over 80% of her body. Now, another victim of this couple, and I would go ahead and name their name, the Fraud Shams, has come forward and is suing the state of Arizona for $15 million. The state of Arizona, which has the infamous reputation of removing the highest percentage of children in the United States from their homes and families through Child Protective Services, has now also been exposed as having a very corrupt foster care network that includes pedophile rings where young children are imprisoned in state-approved foster homes and trafficked to pedophiles. Fraud Sham, a former commander with the Department of Defense in Afghanistan who was discharged from duty due to sexual harassment behavior and an assessment by the military that he had an unalterable personality disorder, has been arrested and convicted of operating a pornographic pedophile ring based out of his state-approved foster home. Referred to as John Doe to protect his identity, the former foster child imprisoned and tortured in the Fraud Shams foster home has filed a notice of claim for damages of $15 million and has served it to various parties in Arizona. So this was a boy. This was a young man, and most people, they think that it's girls that are trafficked, but it's surprising to know that half, if not more, of child trafficking victims are male, little boys. Or boys, teenage boys. Teenage girls, it's about half and half. It doesn't really, make a difference, but it's not just females. It's not just girls. David Fraudsham, an Arizona foster parent for over 12 years. Now think about that. 12 years. He was a foster parent. If you think about the last 10 years of your life, think about everything that has happened in that 10 years. 10 years is a long time. And you're not going to tell me that someone, somewhere, somehow, did not know that this man, this is a big man too. I mean, this guy is like the human version of Jabba the Hutt and Shrek. I mean, yeah, this guy is a monster. You're not going to tell me that a social worker or child protective service, person, whoever, I don't care about what label they go by, what title they go by. They're there to protect the children. You're not going to tell me that they did not see the signs on some of these children that they're being raped, that they're being beaten, that they're being tortured. It says he was arrested and convicted for operating a pornographic pedophile ring based out of his state-approved foster home. Okay. And then it goes on to say that the story is based out of the military town of Sierra Vista, Arizona, and how that he basically ran this pedophile ring, or was part of this pedophile ring, this huge pedophile ring, that, basically he just ran it unchecked for 12 years. And it says that Health Impact News first reported on the charges brought against David Fraudsham and his wife, who were state-approved foster parents in 2017, with the story of the young child Devani, who was seized from her family just days before her second birthday and placed into the Fraudsham state-approved foster home, where she was allegedly raped repeatedly and trafficked as part of an organized pornographic pedophile ring. Okay, this little girl was raped by this man 80 to 100 times. She was beaten. She was tortured. She was, like I said, her body, 80% of her body was burned by scalding water, forcing the amputation of her toes. And it was the foster mother that did it. So it says that local news in Arizona covered this story, but Health Impact News reached out to the biological mother of Devani and told her side of the story, revealing that Devani never should have been taken out of her home in the first place, where she was loved by her mother, who repeatedly tried to report the abuse she was seeing in her daughter with no results. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. This was not a case of, well, we had no idea. We didn't know what was going on. Yes, you did. You damn sure did. And every one of those agents, every one of social workers, they should be strung up. They should suffer what this little girl suffered. It says that now another foster child who was adopted by the fraud shams and put into their pornographic pedophile ring has turned 18 and come forward to reveal details of horrible torture and sexual trafficking while suing the state of Arizona for damages of $15 million. So it's nothing new with these people. And this is not just an isolated case. This is, it goes on and on and on. It says that concerning this boy who is now 18, it says that the state and its employees ignored actual notice of the abuse of John Doe, they're calling him John Doe, and numerous warning signs that the Fraudsham home was dangerous. The state did not remove John Doe until ICE, a federal agency within the Department of Homeland Security, arrested David Fraudsham for operating a pornographic pedophile ring based in his home. ICE identified John Doe as a victim of Fraudsham's pedophilia. John Doe suffered sexual, physical, and emotional abuse for over 12 years in this home, despite numerous red flags of abuse and neglect. This abuse was no secret to CPS, DCS, and well documented, yet no investigations were undertaken. You know, if you're going to care about anybody, you're going to care about children. So this is proof positive. They don't give a damn about anybody. Only themselves. And it tells me something else. You want to talk about cover-up. You want to talk about who they care about. They care about their fellow pedophile. Covering their back, covering their tracks, making sure that, they're able to operate with impunity. It's really sickening. I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to even talk about this. But the truth is that in case after case after case, people that notify authorities, there have been people that have notified the FBI, there have been people that have notified Homeland Security, there have been people that have notified the police, in this case, Maricopa County, Arizona. Nothing was done. Matter of fact, in some cases, they were told that they didn't want to hear it. Why is that? Why is that? Well, it could be that there's across the pond, shall we say, across the globe, in the UK, they have the same problem. This is a global problem, pedophilia, and there was an investigator for none other than Scotland Yard, And this guy was like a bulldog. I mean, once he got a hold of something, he didn't let it go. And he really, really got into the, investigation of this, pedophilia, and it was a huge case called the Hampstead case, and he followed it, and the more that he looked, the more he saw, the more he dug, the deeper it got, and the more he climbed, the higher the sky went. It was like, he just could not get to the top. He couldn't get to the bottom of the root of the problem or the source of the problem. But along the way, he started, he began to see that it wasn't just your average citizen that was involved, but it was people in positions of power, people in the government that were involved. And then he was pulled aside by a fellow detective, a fellow investigator, and who, he says, informed him, just told him, he said, drop it, don't go any further, let it go. And of course he asked why, and he said, because he says, you are getting into territory that you do not want to get into. Dangerous territory. Dangerous for you. Dangerous for him. And he was later informed that if he persisted, that, well, they didn't come right out and say it, but they made it very clear that he would cease to be, just to drop it. Okay, what does that tell you? It tells you that those that do their job are reprimanded. They're pulled back. Those that pretend to do their job, those that are skilled at deception, they're on the case. They're going to find the ones that did this and did that, and they're gonna bring them to justice. It's all a ruse. It's all a lie. Because there are those in power that can do to any investigator, any detective, any law enforcement official, with one word, they can give the order, and it would be just like that Scotland Yard detective, Scotland Yard investigator. Drop it, or you will cease to be. Drop it, or you will die. Okay. That makes it very, very difficult for justice to be served in dealing with this horrific subject. Because let's say that there's an investigator, or there's a reporter, or there's a journalist that they're going to press on. They don't care if it costs them their life, if they can bring if they can shed light on this darkness, then they don't care if it costs them their lives. Well, in that case, they're told that, okay, if you persist, then we will murder your son or your daughter. We'll murder your family. Not you, but we will take care of your entire family. We'll make sure they're all dead. And I don't care who you are. If you're told that, if you're faced with that, you're going to stop. Because these people, they don't play. They don't play. They're very, very serious, and they have no conscience, no empathy, no regard for human life, which doesn't come as a shock. I mean, but they're basically psychopaths. I mean, without conscience. It's been said conscience is the watchdog of heaven, which is true. I mean, your conscience that normal people have keeps you from doing things that, that if you did them, you would wind up in prison. Or, you would wind up in big trouble. Your conscience. Conscience is the watchdog of heaven. But when there's no watchdog, then that heaven becomes hell. A literal hell. And that's what we're dealing with, is we're dealing with those that there is no watchdog, there is no watchman, there's no conscience there. And psychopathy is, while it's rare, it's much more prevalent than people think. And with the mindset of the psychopath, it's they have no emotion. Either they're basically dead inside, and people say, well, what causes that? Abuse, neglect. Neither. Psychopathy is not something that is created. It's something that a person is born with. They're born. It's the bad seed. And some say that it's genetic, but they're not really sure about that either, because a person that is a true psychopath, they are experts at blending in and mimicking, wearing the mask of normalcy. You may know one. You may be with one right now, and you would never know it. The way Hollywood has depicted this, psychopaths, is they have depicted them as, going crazy, losing their temper, this explosive rage, violent, and just, in front of God and everybody. That's not the psychopath. The psychopath does not. People say, well, how do you keep from being intimidated by the psychopath when they get angry or whatever? That's not a psychopath. What's frightening about the psychopath is that their victims never know what hit them. Their victims never know, until it's too late, if they know at all, that a person is a psychopath. What is depicted in movies and books and everything most of the time is a sociopath or a malignant narcissist at best. I mean, people say, well, how does a psychopath take control? They don't. They never lose it to begin with. They're always in control. And that's what that's the mindset. That is, they're very, very careful. They plan, in detail what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and they have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D they can fall back on, and so it's very, very hard to even identify them to begin with, much less catch them or prosecute them. So, but I want to talk about the those who have researched and this, and they got too close. They just got too close, and they were warned to back off, and they didn't. And this goes back to 1992 and the death of Danny Casolaro, which, by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of Robert Maxwell. Danny Casolaro was the investigative journalist who broke the story on what he called the octopus, that was a global, reached into every sector, the media, it had to do with drugs, it had to do with pedophilia, child trafficking, human trafficking, arms trade, gun running, everything under the sun. The Iran-Contra affair, and the, Iran was holding hostages when Jimmy Carter was president. As soon as Jimmy Carter was out of office and Ronald Reagan was in office, the 52 hostages were released, and there was a reason for that. There was a deal that was made, and okay, well, Danny Casolaro found that there was a computer program that had been developed by a man named Bill Hamilton, and it was called Promis, Promis, and what it was a program much like we use right now. Matter of fact, it's been updated. It is now called Planeteer. It was Promis, but now it's Planeteer, and it's what is used today in the U.S. government, probably other governments too. With the Promis software, it was purchased, or actually it was stolen, and it was manipulated. There was a back door. There was a trap door that was created in this software, so that anyone who used it, anyone that purchased it, they could be spied on. Okay, well, the man that was involved in this in the Promis, or the Promis software, was none other than Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Okay? Now stay with me. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, was the greatest super spy for Israel that has ever lived. Matter of fact, at his funeral was held in Israel. There were six former heads of the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad that spoke at his funeral, and there were former Israeli prime ministers spoke at his funeral, and the current at the time the prime minister or the head of Israeli intelligence said that Robert Maxwell had done more for Israel than could be said at that time. Okay. That tells you right there that the Promus software, this was before it's signed, and this is what Danny Casolaro was going to break. This is the story that he was going to break. And he was called, he was warned to stop, that he was going to die, that, hey, if you keep on, you're going to, he did not stop. He had one more meeting with a person in Maryland and told his family that he was not suicidal, that if something happened to him, that he did not commit suicide. He went to Maryland. This was before actual, computers like we have now. So he had files upon files in a big attaché the size of a suitcase. I mean, an office size, just huge, filled with all kinds of files, information, cassette tapes, and everything. He went to Maryland and was going to meet this person that he was going to interview, and the next day the maid in the motel went to his room and found him in the bathtub with both wrists slit, blood on all four walls, the floor, and the ceiling, and they said it was suicide. The only problem with that is his wrists were slit so deep that his hands were almost severed. So suicide would be impossible if you could cut one wrist that deep, but if your hand's barely hanging on, you're not going to very well be able to take the knife or the razor blade or whatever and hold it with your dangling hand and cut the other wrist to where you almost, sever your own hand. It's just not possible. But even with that said, the coroner said suicide, law enforcement said suicide, and the case closed. Okay? That was 1992. Danny Casolaro. You can Google it. It's Google the octopus Danny Casolaro, and you'll get a wealth of information that it's not really talked about these days. Okay, Seth Rich. Seth Rich was in Washington. He was the one that went to the FBI and told them about what he had found as far as pedophilia concerning the Clintons, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and he reported and submitted what he had found, which was he had found signs and evidence of an organized pedophile ring that Bill and Hillary Clinton were a part of, supposedly. Made it known to the FBI. And after that, July the 10th, 2016, at 4:20 a.m., he was walking home from a pub that he had been at in Washington, D.C., the Bloomingdale neighborhood, and two men run up behind him and shoot him in the back. And he died. They took him out. It was determined, quote unquote, to be an attempted robbery, although, heavy on the attempted because they didn't take anything. They just ran up and shot him, And the only thing on surveillance cameras are the feet of the those that shot him. So he was murdered, and the suspects to this day are unknown. No idea. With today's technology, I find it very, very difficult to believe that a high-profile case like that, under the circumstances, he had notified the FBI that, hey, this is what I found, must have been some strong evidence, and boom, next thing you know, he's dead. Jenny Moore, another researcher, reported and submitted evidence of an organized pedophile ring to Homeland Security, and she dies. She's found dead in a Maryland motel, just like Danny Casolaro, but they said that she had died from a seizure. Now, she may have. She may have died from a seizure. I'm just saying that she was very vocal. She's very outspoken about the pedophilia, and had discovered, this large, pedophile ring, organized, and it's just very, very, I don't know. It's just not right. She was in touch with and communicated with different fellow researchers in this, and but anyway, then you have the actor Isaac Cappy. He reported his findings, what he had found, what he had heard and been told in Hollywood, and he named names. He named actors. He named directors, producers, media moguls. He reported his findings to the FBI on Periscope, on video, on a video call, and he made different videos. But his last one, he talked about a dead man switch, where if something happened to him, that there would be tons of information that would come out all over the place of proving that what he had said, what he had found, what he had said, and the people that he had accused. He said that the dead man switch was basically insurance to make sure that nothing happened to him. Okay. Then he comes on and he says that he was very cryptic. He says that he made a mistake, that he was that he thought for a long time that he was a good person, and then he said that he took a deeper look inside himself and that he was not a good person. And he said that he did not rape or have sex with any children. He said, but he did make a decision that he said that he betrayed his country and he betrayed his family, and he said that he was basically like Judas Iscariot in the Bible. And on May 13th, 2019, last year, the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Arizona, okay, said that troopers were called to milepost 185 at the Transwestern Road at 7:26 a.m. after hearing reports that a man had jumped from a bridge over the interstate in Belmont, Arizona, and had been hit by a pickup. He was 42 years old. That was Isaac Cappy. The one that said that he was not suicidal, and then came on and said, talking about that he thought that he was a good person, and that turns out he looked deeper and he found out he was a bad person. The place where he jumped from the bridge is very close to a part of desert there in Arizona, with a place that has been permanently closed, but it was a campground. It was a campground which seemingly was nothing more than a front. Okay. What's important about this is that the researcher, author, some of you may have heard of her, Tracy Twyman. Tracy Twyman was she was 10 years younger than I am, and I followed her for years. For the last 20 years, I followed Tracy Twyman. Tracy Twyman researched Rennes Chateau in southwestern France, just like I have for so long. The Merovingians, the different bloodlines, and the Cathars of northern Spain, southwestern France. It just goes on and on. Tracy Twyman began researching the Pedogate, and Tracy was one who, when she started investigating something, she was in it to win it. She was not going to stop. And she went to this place where Isaac Cappy, she was in touch with him, and she was devastated when he supposedly committed suicide by jumping off the bridge. One thing about that is there were two guys that were on the bridge that were supposedly trying to keep him from jumping, but some people say that they might have assisted him in jumping, or might have helped him over the bridge. Who knows? But just thought I'd add that in. But anyway, Tracy goes and she starts investigating Isaac Cappy and what he had found and people that he had talked to, and she is also was a podcaster, had her own podcast, and she was on many different podcasts as a guest. And making a long story short, she was contacted by this person, this man that told her just very bluntly, very matter-of-factly, with no fear, no hesitation at all, sent her messages and told her that she was going to have to be educated, and she was going to have to back off of her research into this pedophile ring. And she was freaked out. who is this? Well, the guy had his name. I mean, he wasn't hiding his name. He had his email. Wasn't hiding that. Wasn't hiding where he was at. And he told her, he said, told her personal things, and like talked about her son and where her son went to school and all these very, very personal, detailed things about her. And then she later found out that she said she would be driving down the road in her car, or she would be at home on the internet, on her laptop or her CP or her phone, and that there would be real-time messages that would pop up. And like, hey Tracy, we're watching you. Or they would describe what she was doing at that time. Like they were looking out from a camera. And I think of Edward Snowden warning everyone, your phone spies on you. And she was freaked out. And she would be watching TV on her laptop or her phone. And what she thought was TV. But it was a clone, if I explain it correctly. It was a false, like she thought she was on Facebook talking with her friends. She wasn't. It was a false Facebook. She thought she was on Instagram talking with friends, family. She wasn't. It was a false Instagram. It was a fake Instagram. Indistinguishable from the real Instagram. So when she began getting messages to kill herself and things like that, she was really freaked out, and she later learned that her laptop, her phone, every device that she owned had been hacked, and had been hacked by this group, this person that was telling her to back off, and said that if she didn't, that she was going to suffer. And in using different means, told her that she would either suffer by being physically beaten or death. And so the only way that she could stop this from taking place was to take down everything that she had, all of the information that she had shared, everything off of her website, everything that she had online. She shut down her Facebook, she shut down her Twitter, she shut down her Instagram, she shut down everything, because they had sent her pictures via email of her son going to school, and they knew what school he went to and everything, and they're telling her, hey, look, we will do this, So she took everything down, but she continued to talk about it, to talk about what was taking place. And it goes into a lot of different really strange things, and strange things that caught my attention, because it's things that I've talked about here. Time travel, quantum physics, quantum tunneling, quantum data mining, multiverses. I'm not kidding. I mean, this is why I said that it's not just pedophilia. It's so much more. It gets into the occult. It gets into what I just said, It gets into the multiverse, the simulation theory that everything that we perceive as reality is nothing more than a simulation. And there are certain things that were, said, that were, shared with her that I won't really go into right now. But this person, these people, they were in much, much more than just trafficking children or whatever they were doing. They were in much, much more, and they had much, much more power than she thought they did. But anyway, she made a video, made an audio, which she explained what had taken place step by step, and how that she had been hacked, and how that they were watching her, and 24/7 surveillance and everything. And on July the 10th, 2019, noted author, researcher, investigator Tracy Twyman was found hanged in her garage. Okay, July the 10th, 2019. That is the same date that Seth Rich was murdered 3 years earlier. July the 10th, 2016. Just, but Tracy Twyman said that she was not suicidal, just like Isaac Cappy did, and found dead July the 10th, 2019, hanging in her garage. It really hit me hard because I really, she was very, very bright, very, very talented, and I assure you that what she made public was just the tip of the iceberg of what she knew. But she had gone to the FBI, and she had told them what she had found, and they stopped her outside. They wouldn't even let her go inside. They stopped her outside, said, "You can tell us, out here." She said that she was very cordial, very, polite, very respectful. She put her hand out to, shake hands, and they would shake hands with her. And when she told them, when she presented her evidence, what she had found, what she had discovered, they weren't interested. They basically told her to just, shut up, that, they didn't want to hear it. And so she was really shocked because she went there in person, and they didn't want to hear it. They weren't interested in it. And then later, she's found hanging, dead. And that's really it's really not comforting at all, because you know, we've been taught here in the United States that if you really want to, you know, if you really need help, if you really need to talk to someone that can really get things done or really protect you and stop, you know, crime, or, you know, stop the worst crime, the FBI is about as high as you can go. I mean, it's like, you know, she did, and what happened? Nothing. She basically said it was a waste of her time and that she had no recourse. And I'm not saying anything. I'm just, you know, when you look at it when you look at what took place, when you look at it from what she experienced, from Isaac Cappy, you know, he notified the FBI. What does that tell you by not really telling you, by the actions not taken? Makes me wonder, are there certain people, are there certain elements within the government, within the governments of the world that are actually part of this, you know, trafficking of children, pedophilia? But then when you think about the you know, founder of the Temple of Set in California, the general, I believe, Michael Aquino. I think he's probably in his 80s now, but he's a is or was a Satanist. I mean, if he's still alive, he's a, you know, Satanist, and was accused of, you know, pedophilia and you know, many more things. And Tracy Twyman was sent pictures, well, not actual pictures, but they were sketches, drawings, logos, cryptic messages with Michael Aquino, you know, with his, you know, picture, with his face. One is of him playing a flute, and he has these trademark eyebrows that have these little, look like horns on them. Very creepy. But that's the message that was sent to her, was, you know, basically, yes, this is what we are, this is what we're about, and, you know, you're in way over your head. Kind of like the detective, the investigator for Scotland Yard was told, you know, drop it, you know, you don't know what you're dealing with. So if that's the case, then what are we dealing with? What is going on? How do we, you know, even think about stopping this if those who are elected, those who are placed in charge of keeping the law, those who make the laws and are in charge of keeping the laws, are the ones breaking the laws? What does that, you know, how does that change things? Well, it's kind of like in the movie Billy Jack. He says when those who are supposed to uphold the law break the law, he says then there isn't any law. It's a fight for survival. And if that's the case, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is in this case. And many people, they're not many people, I hope not, but, there's some people that say, well, with the migrant children, if they come into this country, then, they deserve what they get. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're children. They don't deserve any harm. They don't deserve anything bad. They, they're innocent. I don't care where they're from. It doesn't matter. But in, closing tonight, there was a video that I saw on, they were talking about the migrant children and how they were being held in detainment centers, detainment camps. And this woman that was representing the, that was representing the Trump administration, she, there were two judges that were, there was a judge and there was a lawyer or something. They were asking her, they said, how are these children treated, they said, because we have received reports where they don't have a toothbrush, they don't have toothpaste, they don't have soap, they can't take a shower, they can't take a bath, whatever. And she said, well, that's true. She says, but they're usually moved within, days from those, camps or, detainment centers. And these men they're like, okay, but they still deserve to have a toothbrush, toothpaste, and soap. And she was just really shocked. The way she looked at it was, they really didn't, and she even said so, and they said, no, they do. They do deserve to be able to brush their teeth. They do deserve to be able to wash themselves with soap. And they can't believe that this woman is actually, how callous she is. I mean, it's like, hey, they don't deserve anything, but, basically, she looked at them like animals, It's like, man, it's just completely crazy. But that's a sad state. It's a sad state of the world, sad state of the United States. It's a sad state of humanity itself, because let's face it, when we don't care about taking care of the children, we cease to be human. We cease to be human. We're just brute beasts, and that's very, very sad. But anyway, next episode, I will go into the connections between known child traffickers, known pedophiles, and people that are well known, people in positions of power that it's going to be a shock. It's going to be a real shock. Anyway, if you'd like to reach me, you can reach me at the textursistpodcast@gmail.com. Please be sure and go to my YouTube channel and subscribe follow me there on my YouTube channel. Be sure and hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. That will help me from being buried. I'm not really well, because of the content of my podcast. I've been told by many people that my podcast is buried. So the more likes that I get, that would really help me. But most of all, if you subscribe, and I can get 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers, whatever, then I will be able to do live video podcasts, and that would be great. That would really help me, because I could show charts, I could show pictures, I could show photographs, diagrams, and just make it more personable. Anyway, thank you for being here. Love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. See you next time.